Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sparkle Saturdays. I'm so excited to have my guest appearing for the second time on the show. And I just want to welcome you to Sparkle Saturdays. Today's topic might be a little heavy, it might be a little triggering. However, we do feel it's important to bring awareness around the subject of domestic violence. The title of our show today is Overcoming Domestic Violence. So I want to welcome you to the show, my dear Soror.
Thank you, Sora. Thank you for having me back again to talk with you and present on this heavy topic of domestic violence in October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes, yes. So, first of all, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Trina Davis. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. And what I do, I am the president of the Chrysalis Society, president and founder. And the Chrysalis Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization to assist survivors become empowered, re-empowered after situations of domestic violence and or sexual assault. We also do community engagement, advocacy work, as well as provide resources as much as possible in the Richmond, Virginia area.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you have all those initials behind your name. Can you tell the people what those initials stand for?
Okay. Well, the LCSW is licensed clinical social worker. What that is that I'm a clinical social worker, not in terms what many people think of social workers at social services. We deal with more mental health. We deal more with assessment, assessing the family, assessing the needs. We're able to diagnose, provide mental health services and behavioral health services.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, let's get into this topic. And just for the viewers, just understand that I have notes here because I want to make sure that our time together is impactful and empowering and, as rich as possible. So you'll see me looking down from time to time. So first of all, how can women and my company Grow Inspire Sparkle centers around Black women. So when I ask these questions, you may hear me say women, you may hear me say Black women, because that is my company focus. I feel that a lot of times we are underserved. So I
Mhm.
wanted my company to be centered around, Black women. So how can women empower themselves and others within their communities to recognize and address the signs of domestic violence?
Women can empower themselves to recognize and address situations in domestic violence is one, to learn what healthy relationships look like. Sometimes our relationships mirror what our family relationships, our origins look
Mhm,
like. And sometimes those relationships aren't healthy. Sometimes
mhm.
we have unhealthy relationships with ourselves. So figuring out what a healthy relationship looks like, it not necessarily have to be with a partner. A lot of people confuse domestic violence is I'm dating you, you're hurting me, you're harming me. Domestic violence extends to uh, anyone in your household. So if you have a sibling who is abusing you, that can be considered domestic violence. If they're in your household, your child
Mhm.
could be considered domestic violence. It's not necessarily a love interest. To figure out what healthy relationships look like and also to have healthy boundaries. Oftentimes we can also empower ourselves by getting out that old adage of we don't talk about those things or that's a family matter. No, that becomes a public crisis when someone is abusing you, when you are not being healthy for yourself, for your children, for all those around you, when you're not showing what healthy relationships look like, when you're being harmed and also when you're triggering other people because you're not in a healthy situation. That's a community issue.
I love that, and I think that in the within our community, a lot of times it's, what happens in this house stays in this house. Don't go out there telling my business. However, domestic violence, like you said, it extends to the community. We see it show up in the classroom. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, when I worked in the U.S. in the school system, like we saw it show up. The
Mhm.
anger in the children, or them emulating some of the behaviors they see at home modeled to them. So you're right, it becomes a community crisis. So it is everyone's business. That's
Right.
why we're having this show right now.
Right.
Thank you
And
for that.
you're welcome. And as you say, in the school systems, you can recognize issues, unhealthy relationships within teens. Some
Mhm.
girls don't feel as they're worthy enough to be in a respectful relationship because they see their moms harm, or someone told them this is how a man's supposed to act, or a woman's supposed to act, or your partner's supposed to act. That's just how men do, or that's just how a woman does. No, that's not correct. If it's affecting you.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of it, like you said, it starts in the household. For me, because I was molested at such an early age, I was molested at age 4.
Hmm.
So that really, like, um, I would say, was the beginning of, this whole experience I had with unhealthy relationships, because a lot of those behaviors that happened to me as a child, I accepted them as normal,
Hmm.
right? I accepted them. They became familiar,
Hmm.
even though they were toxic, unhealthy, abusive. So, therefore, when I got into relationships that were unhealthy, that were toxic, that were abusive, it seemed normal to me.
Right. So when you're in those situations and it seems normal, you don't feel that there's an issue. So it
Right.
doesn't, you don't think it's a problem. Although that you don't think it's a problem, it is still a problem because it, again, it trickles down to how you respond to other people, how you engage other relationships that are plutonic, how you engage your children, how you engage your coworkers. And those relationships as well become, they can become just as toxic if you are not if you don't understand what a healthy relationship looks like.
Absolutely. So, our first tip is to learn what healthy relationships look
Look,
like, right?
yes.
Educate ourselves on what healthy relationships are.
And
Okay, so
understand there's a difference between having a healthy relationship and dynamics. So a lot of
mhm,
people saying they think, oh, okay, so we have so many different dynamics of relationships out here. We have mono, we have poly extensions going all the way down the line. We have same sex, we have separate different sex. We have so many different types of. Just because those relationships don't serve you does not mean they're not healthy for that person. So
mhm,
we have to understand that healthy relationships have to be, consensual one, that it's not being, a person is not being abused, not being manipulated, coerced, or intimidated, or being triggered or isolated from their people, those relationships. So if someone is in a poly relationship, that could be just as healthy as a abusive mono relationship. So let's not
mhm,
confuse those types of relationships. Healthy
okay,
relationship determines how you interact with your people. And it's not just, again, a partner, it could be family, anyone in your family.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. So let's get into the next question. So, what self care strategies and coping mechanisms do you recommend specifically for Black women who have experienced violence to help them rebuild their self esteem and confidence?
Self care is individualized. So it can mean so many things to someone. Myself, I am a survivor of domestic violence. I always thought, oh, this ain't gonna happen to me. You know, I'm that strong Black woman. Nobody's gonna do anything to me. But what happened? My pride got the best of me, to the point that I was embarrassed to say that my
Mm,
relationship, my second relationship, my second marriage was failing. It did not serve me. I was embarrassed to say that, okay, you know, everything that someone else thought about me, it was going to be truth. When in the matter of, it didn't matter because I wasn't happy within that marriage. It didn't serve me. You know, when looking at back on it now, it was the isolation. I got isolated from the people who I love the most, my social, um, my social supports. I got isolated from my family supports. I
mhm.
got isolated from so many different places. And you think it's like, oh no, 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 you weren't isolated. He just wanted to spend more time with you. No, even in healthy relationships, you need your individual time. You need your own identity. That wasn't what it was. It became, oh well, you know, you're probably doing something over here, where it's like, okay, well, just to appease you, I'm not gonna go. So that kept a lot of relationships at bay, and it started to strain relationships. um so when you're thinking about self-care, it depends on the person. For me, self-care is going to a football game and screaming at the top of my lungs and getting it out. Self-care could be you going to get your hair done. You know, I know we as Black women, we pride ourselves on our hair. Don't, you know, we not coming out our house looking crazy. If the one thing that we can detect something wrong with a Black woman is by the look of her hair. It's like, okay, I've seen your hair done look disarrayed for a couple of months now. You done wrapped up your hair. Is it a financial issue? Is it mental health issues? Is it something going on personally? So looking at a Black woman's hair, we're not going to get our hair done, or we not doing our hair. That's number one factor that something is not right. Um, Another thing of self-care is just being still. Too many times we think we have to be doing something, and sometimes it's just being still. Self
Mhm.
care can also look like, reaching back out to those healthy relationships that you once had and atoning, making amends to figure out, how can you be that support? How can they be that support again? Self care could be if, going to the grocery store is too much, it strains you, order your groceries online. There are so many things of self-care that we can do. But one thing we as Black women, we definitely need to do, and I suggest that we do, we burn that superwoman cape. That
Mm,
does not belong to us.
mm-mm.
I am not allergic to kryptonite. I don't have an invisible jet. I don't have a magic lasso. I don't have any of those things. I have the same makeup as any other woman of any other color. So there should not be any more put on me than I allow. So if I say no, I can't do it. If I say, hey, I need help, those are all things of self-care, because you
Mhm.
you asking for help is also being strong. Shedding
Right,
tears is also signs of being strong. We often think, okay, if we do this, then it's a sign of weakness. A weakness to what? What badge are you trying to earn? What medal are you trying to earn? Is there a race to get into the grave first because you're not
right.
taking care of yourself?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that superwoman cape is rooted in slavery because we were everything to everybody.
Mhm.
I mean, we took care of all of everybody's kids, and we took care of everybody's house, and we worked the field. I mean, we did everything.
Mhm.
And so I believe that that is rooted in slavery. And I took mine off a while ago, a long time ago. So I appreciate that. So one of the things that resonated with me from that question that you said is own our voice, use our voice, speak up
Mhm.
for ourselves when we need help, when we need whatever it is that we need a support system, we need a, a friend to talk to. Is speak up.
It's speaking up and also speaking out. A
Mhm.
lot of times I see on social media when there's a woman being or a man, because don't forget, men are abused too,
Right.
uh, abused, and it's saying, oh, well, they went back, so they wanted it. Well, we don't know what their situation
Mm-mm.
is. We don't know that they're being coerced. We don't know if they're being intimidated. We don't know if he's used or she's using their privilege to inflict harm or fear or setting these boundaries. We don't know
Right.
any of these things. But what
Right.
we do know is that this person is in a situation that is not healthy. So
Mhm.
sometimes, people often say, well, I'm going to stay out of it. You can stay your distance, but you can also say, what is it that I can do for you? Once that
Right.
person identifies what they need, isn't up to you to say, okay, I can help you or I can meet you. And that's when
Okay.
you're putting that healthy boundary. I may not be able to give you $100 so that you can escape. I may be able to give you 10.
Mhm.
I may be able to find a
Right.
resource or find a cell phone or a burner phone for you. I may be able to keep your children for a few hours while you're doing X, Y, and Z. But those
Mhm.
things we have to ask ourselves how we help them. We don't have to go over and knock the door down, knock the walls down when they're engaging in these physical activities. I wouldn't suggest that to anybody. But what I do suggest is being that support and understanding that once you see it, they're not going to leave when you're ready for them to leave. They have to
Right.
leave when it's right for them. And we don't know
Mhm.
when it's right for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. I take the judgment out and, put the support in, like you
Hmm.
said. Cuz like for me, like I said, it was familiar.
Hmm.
So I think it wasn't really until I found myself in a situation where I was dealing with emotional and verbal abuse and manipulation, emotional manipulation, that I actually started to understand. And
Hmm.
even going through recovery also helped me understand, that a lot of times is some of it's familiarity. And then
Hmm.
like you said, when they're ready, sometimes, they have to be ready. They have to be ready cuz some I know I found myself, um it it was a time where I was afraid to be alone. Like what will happen if, if I do leave and, then I'm alone, right?
Hmm.
Or who will I be if I divorce? I've been married for all this time. So it's
Hmm.
it's a whole lot of different, like you said, it's a lot of factors, and every person's story and experience is different. But the
Right.
main thing is like that, we're not judging,
Right.
right?
Correct.
Um, okay, so let's get into the next topic. Now, you talked about this a little bit, but I'm still going to ask it. Now, how important is community support in the healing process for survivors of domestic violence?
It is very important, because again, it's not just a individual thing. It is a community thing. You are integrating a person who has been harmed. When people come back from war, they are debriefed. When people are in traumatic situations, they're debriefed, they get counseling, they receive a lot of types of services. But just think about a survivor who experienced domestic violence. That was a war within itself. So that person needs debriefing. That person needs counseling. That person needs love, patience, and not to be judged. That person needs
Mhm.
time and space to heal.
Right. I
And
love that.
sometimes
I love that.
and sometimes it's they also need resources, because when we thinking about domestic violence, we're not just thinking about physical, we're thinking about emotional. isolation, minimizing, blaming, using the children, if there's children
Mhm.
involved, using their
Mhm.
privilege, using their money, coercions and threats, intimidation. It is so many different types of domestic. Uh, Now we have, you know, internet. You going through someone's phone. People, I see this on social media all the time. Is it okay for your spouse to use your phone? If they ask permission, yes, it is. If they ask permission, it is not okay for you just to go into your spouse's phone and look up messages or to look up where their whereabouts because that person is an adult.
Mhm.
They have the right to privacy, just like you do. If you're
Mhm.
suspecting any situation or issues, then you need to talk it out. If you don't feel that you can talk it out or feel that you're getting the correct information, then you need to make a decision based off the information that you have. But to violate someone's privacy, to go to put trackers on them, to put
Mm.
cameras, it gets weird. It gets weird. There's some things
I
that
lived it. I
I
lived it.
I I was like, "What?" Um, setting up their doctor's appointments, wanting to know doctor's informations. People who are partners or spouses, they think, "Oh, we're married, so your doctor should be able to." No, there's a thing called HIPAA. I have rights to my own privacy. I have my
Right.
right to my own health.
Absolutely. Yeah, I lived it. I had the trackers. They tracked on my phone, knew all my whereabouts. Yeah, I lived it.
Right. I mean,
So I understand.
I've experienced, while I'm asleep, using my finger to unlock my phone. Like, what? Like, how did you get this? And it's to the point that you even have to send yourself a dummy email to see what's going on here. And then you're thinking in
Mhm.
your head, it's like you get so confused, like, what's going on? And you start to question yourself. You start to get paranoid. And it's like even gaslighting. Some people think
Mhm.
some people confuse what gaslighting is. And it's not because you and a person disagrees about something. It is
Mhm.
definitely when someone tries to um, manipulate you psychologically. So, for example, with gaslighting, you and your partner sitting there, and they have the temperature on 0 degrees, and it's 0 degrees outside, and they up there fanning themselves like it's hot to get you think that you're crazy,
Right.
and you like, no, the heat is on. No, it's not.
Been there and done that too. That's like the narcissist 101. They love to gaslight. I dated a narcissist. Ooh, I tell you. Uh Very interesting. Um and on the flip side, I have done the whole going through the phone thing.
Hmm.
I've done that. I'm definitely guilty of that in the past. I have better boundary system now because of
Hmm.
all the things that I've learned and experienced and have grown. So I've been on the other side of that one. So let's see. Now, are there resources like statewide, like resources um, or networks that Black women can turn to for support?
There are different resources based on where you reside. Some places there are not. The better place is to look up the National Domestic Violence .org, and
Okay,
sometimes they have different organizations listed. Sometimes it's just to do a nice a Google search, to
okay,
see what's in your area, because
okay. I'm writing it.
everything is not available to every area.
Okay, I got you. I understand. But
And
if you are
sometimes,
in Richmond, Virginia, you have the Chrysalis Society
yes,
or,
you
the
definitely do
metro
have
area.
us. And there are
Mm-hmm.
so many other different organizations that's in the Virginia area, thankfully. However, sometimes funding is low. From my understanding, even Purina has donated money to the domestic violence awareness because when people escape with their pets, a lot of places are not accepting their pets, so
Oh, I didn't think about that.
they don't want to leave their pets behind, who was their source of emotional support.
Right. I didn't even think about that. That didn't even cross my mind. Very interesting. Okay, so the main thing, if a person is not aware of the resources and the supports, is Google, or you can go to nationaldomesticviolence.org, right?
Correct.
Okay. So domestic violence can often be cyclic, right? What advice do you have for Black women who want to break the cycle of abuse within their families and their communities?
Speak up. Nothing can be
Okay.
changed if you don't speak up. A lot of
Okay.
times we have a lot of sexual abuse, sexual violence within our families. We call it, the Chester the molester, the the
Mm,
the the uncle who has lots of
yeah.
fingers, who could be an octopus and touching every little girl, and because he's providing economical support to the family, or he's looked at as the patriarch of the family, nothing goes undone. But
Mhm.
you you hush you hush the girl as saying, well, it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay, because now she feels that nobody is going to believe her. Now she feels
Right.
that she does not have that support. Now she is, or he, because it could be males too, again.
Right.
If I continue to go refer back to she, I'm just referring because of what so much that, because I identify as she.
Right.
Um, now they have unhealthy relationships. Now it goes to, okay, well, I have no control over my body, so it's okay. So many women I hear that they just, men continuously ask them for sex, and they're like, no, 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 but the man asks so many times that they get fed up, and it's like, okay, yes, that's a form of abuse. Coercion
Right.
is a form of abuse.
Let's talk about it. Yes, it is.
You're not gonna keep asking me, and I done told you no. As they say, I done
Right.
took and told you no.
Right. Took and
Nothing is
told.
gonna change my mind. You
Right.
asking me 5,000 times.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
so you remove yourself from that situation, but then they come back.
Mhm.
So how do you continue to let that go? You there are so many things that you can do, but the first thing is to speak up and to speak out.
Yes. Speak up and speak out. Um, you unpacked a lot of stuff in that question because um, a lot of times people describe promiscuous women as hoes, or she is slut, or you know a lot of times they say these things, but what is it, they say one out of every three
Mhm.
women have been sexually abused or assaulted, or one out of every three, and I believe it's probably more like one out of every two.
About
But
75%, and people don't believe it.
right. And a lot of times when women have been sexually abused in their youth,
Mhm.
especially as a young child, sometimes they act out because of what they've been through, you know? So, it goes back to not judging. Like, you don't know what people have been through in their lives, and
Can
that they're trying to walk out their healing. Like, it may look different for everybody. Like, some women eat when
Mhm.
they've been sexually abused, and they eat and eat and eat to put the weight on, thinking, okay, well, now nobody will mess with me, you know? So
It
it comes out in different ways.
it definitely does come out in different ways. As you say, some people eat, they eat to put the weight on so that no one mess with them, but they also eat because that's the only thing that they control. It
Right.
comes to, I know what I can control to put in my body.
Yep.
This is something I have control over. Um,
Mhm.
I don't have control over, when I go to bed at night and somebody want to put their hands on me and everyone's telling me it's going to be okay. But why is it
Right.
okay? Why is it okay
Mhm.
for them to do what they do? Why am I being questioned of what happened to me versus that person being questioned of why they did what they did?
Yeah.
And we have to look at those things as well. We also have to look at, not only labeling girls as being fast and promiscuous, but some people are just more sexually aware of themselves. There
Mhm.
is
That's
nothing
true.
wrong with a woman who is sexually aware of what she likes. Uh, if it's okay for a man to be sexually aware of himself, I mean, if unless he's doing it with another male, there has to be a woman to be sexually aware of herself too.
Mhm.
So let's just put it out there. We can't
Mhm.
say one gender or sex or whatever, because I know somebody's gonna have some questions about that. Whatever you
Right.
identify with is
Mhm.
should be okay and sexually aware, and it be, all right, and not have the other one too. Well, I know what I like. I know what
Mhm.
I don't like. I know what feels good, what doesn't feel good. We
Mhm.
learn this. We learn this in utero. We begin masturbating in the womb.
Oh, wow.
Yes. That's
I didn't
that's
know.
that's natural touch.
Right.
You
Right.
can't tell me, oh, some people say, well, I don't masturbate, that's not natural. Well, how do you wash yourself? How do you get your crevices clean? You don't have to go there to get to, you know, ejaculation, escalation, whatever. But you still gotta touch them parts.
Right. That's true. Oh my gosh. So, how can therapy help in this process of breaking the cycle?
Therapy is a powerful tool. And therapy is not just your let's lay on the couch and let me go into your mind and pull out all your trauma. That's not how therapy works.
Mhm.
Therapy could be a tool for you to just be able to express yourself in a safe place. Therapy could also be a tool where you're able to unpack some trauma. Now, a lot of people come to therapy and just sit there. Now, I can sit there with you, but you have to be able to open up. Why are we here today? And be
Right.
honest. I tell people all the time, you come to therapy with lies, that's what we're going to treat. Not going to make you
Right.
feel any better. And then you're going to say, well, it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't come totally who you are.
Mhm.
I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help guide you to where you want to be. It's not
Right.
about me, it's about you.
Absolutely.
And as a
I
therapist, I have my own therapist, and I know sometimes she needs a break from me every so often.
I'ma tell you, I've been in 12-step recovery from codependency since 2010.
Mhm.
And it's something about putting those words out in the atmosphere in a circle with other
Mhm.
people who may have the same experiences. It's
Mhm.
comforting to have someone else who has been through the same thing, because a lot of times our minds try to say, oh, you're the only one who's going through this, or you're the only one who's been through this. So
because
it's
nobody
really
understands.
comforting. Mhm.
Right. It is. And also, you can't use therapy vicariously through someone else. Because with someone else unpacked in therapy, and they may have like, oh, this worked for me, may not work for you.
Mhm.
There are so many different strategies that may not work for you that a person is dealing with. And a lot of times people learn new buzzwords in therapy and they want to flex their skills. I love it. I love it because that tells me that you're going. But at the same time, allow that person to go to therapy. Don't become
Right.
because you went to 3 therapy sessions, now you want to become the therapist. No, because then we're going back to that porous boundaries. You
Right.
know, allow your friend to say, I love you, friend. I'm
Mhm.
here for you, but you're gonna have to work that out in therapy. I cannot be your therapist and
Right.
your friend at the same time.
Yes. So I'm a transformation coach. I know you know that, but I'm gonna just mention it for the viewers. And um I find that with my clients, a lot of times it's it's like important for them to get these things out. And a lot of times what I've noticed is when they get the things out, they start figuring out their own stuff, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's as simple as like their daily routine, like how you're managing your time during the day,
Right.
but the thing is like talking it out with someone.
Understanding what it
So
is. You are absolutely right. Even the managing the time, I hear all the time, I don't have enough time. There's 168 hours in a week.
mhm.
What are you doing with your time? If
Right,
you're able to write the time that you get up to the time that you go to bed, everything that you did, what could you take away?
right. Absolutely.
And sometimes it's just this figuring stuff out that is could be just so simple of, I just need to take a 15-minute lunch break.
Right.
I need a nap. But when we're so involved in everyday life, when we're so enmeshed in other people's business and other people's
Mm,
situations,
mm,
don't look what we need. It's like we want to fix everybody else,
mhm.
but we forget to fix us first.
You
So
dipping into my lane, girl.
it's like
Codependency.
being it's like being on an airplane. You putting everybody
Right.
else's mask on, and then you like, oh, no mask left for me. Okay, well, I
Right.
guess I'm just gonna sit here
Right.
and eat
That
these
is so
peanuts.
true. Right. Oh my gosh. So, the main thing I heard you say in breaking that cycle is again, speak up and speak out.
Yes.
So, our next question, domestic violence often intersects with mental health challenges. So, how can therapy address both the trauma from domestic violence and any resulting mental health issues while taking into account the unique experiences of Black women?
I would
I
say
know that's a
find
lot.
it is. Well, I think I touched on a little bit about how therapy can help. One
Yeah.
issue is that if you're in a domestic violence situation, understand that don't come to therapy with your partner. That is
Mm,
in that moment, it is not a couple's issue. It is a individual issue. And oftentimes you will find yourself being coerced. You will find yourself again being intimidated. It becomes the therapeutic relationship is not healthy. I've had to counsel couples therapy because I've seen it. And
mm,
I'm like, this doesn't work. You all have to work out your individual situations. You try your best to reach out to the person that you think is the victim, and sometimes you can't because guess what? Their their emails are being controlled by the partner.
mm.
You can
Wow.
when you even look at their intake forms, you can tell that the partner filled out their intake forms.
Wow.
Like the same person completed this form when it's supposed
Right.
to be two different people. But as
Right.
far as a unique for black women, you have to find someone who works for you. Everybody
Okay.
is not gonna be a good fit for you. And
Got
understand that
you.
your therapist is not gonna agree with you
Hmm.
100%. Your therapist is there to help challenge you, challenge your behaviors sometimes if that's where you are, because sometimes that's not where you need to be, but also make you accountable.
Right. I love that. So sometimes it may take going to a few different therapists before you find the right one for you,
Yes,
right?
yes, it does. I often remember as a kid, when I experienced my first sexual assault as a teenager. Um, Now, I grew up in the inner city of Richmond. You're going to send me to a white therapist who does not understand what it is to be a poor black girl in the inner city. So she couldn't
Right.
understand when I'm stressed out, when I'm frustrated, when I don't want to talk and I don't feel, certain ways. And when I'm saying, if just to say, I'm gonna beat her ass. We literally, sorry if you have to mute that part. Sometimes that doesn't mean I'm gonna beat her ass. To
Right.
us, it means I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm
Right.
tired. It means
Right.
so many different things. But if you don't have that person who can understand you, it's not gonna be a good fit.
Right.
If
Right.
you have a therapist who I love the ones who want to understand so much, but therapy is not the place for you to learn black women,
Right.
black people, people of color. It is not the place
Absolutely.
because now they don't see it as a safe place. Now they see it as a place where now I have to educate you about who I am versus you
Right.
helping me to be where I need to be.
Right. And we don't have time for that when we dealing with
So,
trauma.
so I would say that situation. I always go back to that. I also had another horrible therapist. When I was going through postpartum and I was questioning is being married and young and everything. He was a white male. Now, could he possibly
Right.
understand what I was doing? His
No.
recommendation within 5 minutes: leave your husband.
What?
Yes, that was his recommendation. I remember this. And this was a
Wow.
therapist in Mississippi.
Oh my gosh.
So you just have to find the one that fits you and be honest with your insurance. Don't be, you pay for your insurance. Say, hey, I
Right.
want a black female, I want a black male, I want this, this is who I need, this is my religion, I need a Christian, I need a Muslim, I need whoever, this is who I need.
Right. Right.
Now, does that discredit other therapists who could possibly still help you along? No, it doesn't. But if you're feeling comfortable, if that's your safe place, you need to be comfortable.
Right. Absolutely. Soror. I need to grab my phone charger because I'm recording on my phone and I don't want to lose you. 1 second. Because I don't want to lose you because this conversation is way too good. Okay. All right. So it's important to have the right therapist. Hold on. Sorry.
It is
Have
definitely
the right
important.
therapist. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So let's get into this next one. Creating safe spaces is crucial for survivors.
Hmm.
How can we as a community contribute to creating safe environments where Black women feel empowered to share their experiences and seek help without judgment?
That is a loaded question.
It's loaded. But the main thing is, how can we create safe spaces? I mean, I feel like this show when people see it, will bring some awareness to that. But like, what else can we do in our community to contribute to creating safe spaces?
Just listen. Listen without judgment. Just listen.
Okay. Okay. So my experience was not like my experience with domestic violence
Mhm.
was not like physical. My experiences, well, as a child, right? But
Mhm.
my experiences with domestic violence were more mental and emotional harm. Okay,
Mhm.
so domestic violence includes more than the physical violence. It's the intent to cause harm or danger to someone. So that would include mental and verbal abuse and other things that you mentioned earlier. So, what strategies can survivors use to rebuild their self worth and their emotional well being after this trauma?
One strategy I say is self-forgiveness.
Mm,
And that's the
yep.
hardest thing. We can forgive everybody else.
Yes.
And, we go into that, the Lord's Prayer, forgive those who trespass against us, but we
Mm-hmm.
also do that against ourselves. And that self-forgiveness is going to be the biggest key because we get into our feelings and our emotions of why did I stay? Why did I
Yeah.
do that? You continue to question your why. And it's not that. It goes into this happened to you. Now what
Mm-hmm.
for you? How are you
Right.
gonna how are you gonna respond the next time you start seeing unhealthy situations? How are you gonna forgive yourself? And sometimes it's just showing yourself some self-compassion, taking care of yourself, going back to, your self-care, uh, doing mindfulness, finding out things that make you happy again.
Right. Yeah, I did a whole list. I'm gonna tell you, one of the books that helped me so much in recovering from, the sexual abuse and the rape that I experienced at age 11, and then dealing with the stuff that I dealt with in my marriage. And the book was called Freeing Your Mind from Memories That Bind. And the book had me do like a whole list, like, my values. What do I like? What do I
Mhm.
hate? Like, literally, I had to get to know myself again because I had lost myself in the relationship. So I love that. What finding out what makes you happy, and sometimes I think it's worth it to sit down and actually make those lists, to get
Mhm.
to know yourself better.
Right.
Mhm.
So you go back into your values, your core values.
Yeah.
What do you believe in? Looking at your strengths, things that make you happy, but also giving yourself that self compassion. Have compassion
Right.
for yourself. You didn't
Yeah.
abuse yourself. And then a
Right.
lot of times when we say, I allowed it, a lot of times we didn't allow these things.
Mm-mm. Nope.
These things happen.
Yeah. And even that question, how did I let this happen? Like you said, it just happened.
Hmm.
People have motives.
And
Um,
ulterior
and
motives
and
that you have no clue about.
that's that part. That part. Okay, so and forgive. So I from that one I took away you have to forgive yourself.
Right.
And that came up for me in recovery. Like, when we had to do our spiritual and moral inventory, where we had to list out all the stuff, all the stuff. And then we had a category of, who do you need to forgive? And, that's something that they said to us, like, you need to make sure you put yourself on that list, because you need
Right.
to, a lot of times, like you said, we forgive everybody else for everything, right?
Mhm.
But we often forget to forgive ourselves.
Right.
So that's really important. So now let's get into the whole world of the chrysalis society and notoriety. So tell us more. You didn't mention notoriety. Did you want to talk about that,
We
or you
we
want to
definitely
focus on
can.
chrysalis? Okay.
Let's focus on chrysalis since it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Okay.
Um.
So tell me about your foundation, your nonprofit,
Mhm.
and the powerful silent walk that you just sponsored.
Okay. Well, again, the Chrysalis Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization where we try to re-empower survivors of domestic violence or sexual assault through education, advocacy, and community outreach. Um, 2 weeks ago, we had a silent walk, and the silent walk was a victory lap for the survivors and a memorial lap for those who, for our victims. And it's just to bring awareness about it. Um, it was a powerful moment. It rained, but it was still beautiful, to be able to take that lap, to be able to have that support of others, and to remember those who are no longer here with us. We also are putting on another program, again, which is our SWEAT program, which is our biannual program to promote whole health within the Richmond area. And this is where we help survivors focus on physical, financial, emotional, social, and cognitive self improvement. Um, so a lot of people's like, well, let's forget the physical out the way, but there's so much more about a person that you got
Right.
to work on. Uh, Soon, hopefully soon, we'll have our support group running up, our virtual support groups running up to for people to be able to have that opportunity, just to have that camaraderie of, discuss what they're dealt with, some solutions, and just to have that support going forward. We are looking at having a curriculum for African American teens to develop healthy relationships.
Nice. I could have benefited from all this when I was a teenager. I love it. So, with the virtual component, will women from all over be able to
Women,
participate in that?
anyone who registers, and we can verify identity, because we do want to make sure that we don't have any disruption, because you don't want to re-trigger anyone,
Right.
and that it could be a support system and not just a hindrance for someone. So it could be anyone and who can log on.
Nice. I love it. Well, our time is coming to a close. I really appreciate you joining me today for Sparkle Saturdays. And I believe that you have brought a lot of awareness and a lot of tips that we can share with others, that we can use ourselves. So I really, really appreciate that. Do you have any final words before we go?
The only final words I have is just to speak up and speak out. Remember those, speak up and speak out. That's the only way that we can have healthy relationships, re empower our survivors, whoever they may be. And it's not just women, it's children, it's men,
Hmm.
it's anyone who can be in arm's length of you. It's anyone that's at your job, it's anyone who you walk
Hmm.
past in the grocery store.
Yeah. Now, how can the people keep up with you with Chrysalis Society? Where would they go for that?
Okay. Well, we have a website. You can go to Chrysalis, which is CHRYSALISRVA.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We do update information regularly. If you want to reach out to us, just send us a message on either avenue. We also accept donations. So,
Yes, it is a 501(c)(3), so that would be tax deductible.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The other thing that I want to say before we close is that I had never heard of a silent walk. And will that be annual?
It will be annual. It's something that one of our board members wanted to do. They wanted to
Hmm.
do a walk, and we felt that doing it in October, doing domestic violence, is uh, the appropriate. And the reason why we chose it to be silent, because oftentimes our victims are silenced. Oftentimes we're
Right.
told, it's gonna be okay. Don't say anything, or you just want attention. So let's keep this quiet. So that's why we did it in silence.
Okay. That's so
Be-
powerful. So powerful. Thank you so much for being here today. And anyone who is interested in coaching or anything else about Grow, Inspire, Sparkle, you all can find us at growinspiresparkle.com. You can find us at Grow Inspire Sparkle on Facebook and Grow underscore Inspire underscore Sparkle on TikTok and Instagram. We would love to connect with you. And I hope that you all found a lot of value out of this show today. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much, Sora Davis.
Thank you for having me, Sora Braxton.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You do the same. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.